everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Magical Jill, and today, Jay and I have a lot to say about a certain subject. And what is that subject?
Car insurance.
No.
Sorry, wrong video. We are talking about Sailor Moon, and we are talking about the missed opportunities of video games in Sailor Moon, which is unfortunately many.
But before we get into this video, I did want to do a question of the day because I just think it's so much fun. And
question
also,
of the day.
Also, I'd love it if you guys press like and subscribe because I have a lot of awesome Sailor Moon videos to make.
And Dragon Ball and other anime.
So the question of the day is, what would your perfect Sailor Moon video game be?
Dating sim. Sorry.
You can describe it however you want in the comments down below. I would love to hear your ideas because I think it is so much fun. And also, to be honest, a dating sim would be pretty cool. We're
assuming they're the adult sailors in the future.
Yes.
Even though they're already close, but we're assuming that they're after the anime.
And Tuxedo Mask tragically died somehow.
Okay, got it. I was trying to date him, so...
Uh-oh.
To provide a little bit of background here, Sailor Moon has gotten video games before. I mean, there's entire lists of video games online. You can actually even just look up a list of Sailor Moon video games, and there's a Wikipedia article going through all of them. Actually, all the way back, I believe, to the early 90s, in 1992-ish, I think is when they started coming out. The problem is, there are not actually that many that are very good, and a lot of them were never officially released outside of Asia. So what it really came down to was, outside of a few circumstances, there was the Sailor Moon RPG. That game is very good. It has some flaws, but it's probably the best Sailor Moon game ever made. And there was a beat-em-up that's kind of considered a classic. And there's especially basically nothing in the last decade.
And none of them ever had any high budgets at all.
No. They were kept very low budget. And it's unfortunate because, as described online actually, there were about 20 games released by 1998. And yet almost none of them were ever released outside of Asia officially.
Yeah, see, that's the problem, is now when you think about games now, video games now, especially video games made by the Japanese that have really high budgets, they tend to be incredible in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So could you imagine that, but with Sailor Moon?
I certainly can, and I want it.
I want it too. I think that'd be awesome. However, it feels like recently Naoko Takeuchi has kind of made it kind of clear that she is done with telling more of the story.
Yeah, I wish she wasn't, but it does kind of seem like it.
So I feel like if you did do a video game, you would have to either do branching timelines and make a new story of Sailor Moon or something like that that doesn't hugely involve Naoko to write a new story for it, because it just seems like that is not really an interest of hers at the moment.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, neither of us is calling her lazy.
No.
I know you're not, but I just want to say that neither of us is doing that. She's obviously someone with a very big work ethic who created something larger than life and has created other manga properties as well. And she was recently involved in the adaptation and creation of the more Crystal era movies. But the issue with her involvement with the franchise is it's always been a bit of a rocky one in terms of she was reportedly not super thrilled at times with how the 90s anime took things. It's one reason we got Crystal. And then Crystal was hit with budgetary problems and other things for whatever reasons from Toei. And so we're kind of at a point where it just seems like Naoko has finished her story. She never expanded past her original story much. I don't know why. I feel like there's a lot of stories you can talk about that would be interesting that she or others could get into, but it just kind of makes me think that it should go the direction of the Dragon Ball franchise, where either a successor is picked, or if you don't want to have that and you still want to make official media, you have different creators and directors and writers who, like you said, make those things in other timelines. Like, nobody's looking at Dragon Ball Sparking Zero that's coming out and they're saying it's canon to the show or to the manga.
Yeah, it's its own thing.
And people are fine with that. And people love that, and it works.
Something that I would absolutely love is an older Chibiusa game with her Sailor Quartet and Sailor Saturn and seeing their story move on in a video game. I think that would honestly be so awesome. We also did have a couple of ideas too. For like a Dragon Ball Xenoverse type of game, but it's create your own Sailor.
I feel like you could easily do something like this. I know that it would be a little bit of a ripoff of Dragon Ball Xenoverse, but I think that it could go its own way entirely, and you would have a lot of room to play around with different eras and different things. I mean, Sailor Moon already does involve time travel, I know that this is getting a little bit into ripping off Xenoverse's plot too, but I feel like you could very easily make a create your own character game in that world where maybe you can go to the Juban district, you can go to Tokyo, but maybe you can go to the possible future of Crystal Tokyo.
And the moon.
Or maybe you can go to the past
Kingdom. Yeah.
of the Moon Kingdom and the Silver Millennium.
That would be incredible.
Exactly.
That would be so awesome.
Imagine a game where you can go to all of those settings, is kind of what I'm saying, and interact with maybe classic moments or classic eras of, the manga and show.
And the thing is with Dragon Ball is it's still getting video games to this day.
And that game has lasted for 7 years, by the way. Still getting updates to this day on just Xenoverse.
So honestly, in my opinion, don't fix what ain't broke. Like if you got such an amazing idea there and you can put it on other animes that have awesome concepts that would work for it, I say go ahead and do it.
And Jill, you know why we're talking about that? Because both are Toei. Both have been, licensed and worked with Toei before. I mean, obviously Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon as well. So it's not like you're asking them to rip off some other company. You're just asking them to take an idea that worked very, very well for one of the other properties they've worked with and adapt it to this one. I think that that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great ideas for Sailor Moon games that we could have a modern beat 'em up, just like kind of like how the old beat 'em ups were a thing for Sailor Moon, but a lot of them weren't exactly amazing. Well, if you made a modern one that's actually really good, or you remade the RPG game that they had made before, and then you added onto it, because that would be awesome as well. The universe is just really rich and interesting with a lot of concepts that would be really fun to explore, similar to how Dragon Ball has explored a lot of different concepts and a lot of different timelines in their video games. And I think it's just a shame that another one of the biggest animes in the world is not getting the same kind of treatment that something like Dragon Ball is getting. Because Sailor Moon is popular with boys and girls and men and women all around the world. And it's not just Japanese people, it's also Americans who, want to see the English translation too, and other people around the world as well. And I kind of feel like there's a lot of stigma around, like, oh, well, video games are just for boys, and most of the Sailor Moon crowd are girls, so obviously they wouldn't be interested in a video game. But we live in 2024 now. Girls love video games too, just as much as the next guy. And
boys are more interested in things that in the past might have been considered girly or gay to like, which is never should have been a thing. I find that to be just a brain dead ideology, but it always was an ideology of like, if you were a guy and you were caught watching or listening to music or playing a game that was more girly, people would say, oh, you're gay, or, oh, that's for girls. And I think that, while there are always going to be some built-in ideas and some built-in attitudes, I don't think that that's as much of a thing anymore, just like with video games, how it's done a better job of appealing to everybody.
Yeah.
I think that Sailor Moon, people are realizing, is just a good property. It's just a really fun, interesting universe. You could be 70 years old, or you could be a 12-year-old boy, or you could be a 50-year-old woman. Like, it's fun. Just
with my experience as a Sailor Moon fan who lives in random Minnesota in the United States.
A Moonie, if you will.
Yes, a random Moonie. I go to places, like stores and malls and stuff, and I'll get people complimenting my Sailor Moon backpack and saying, I'm a fan of this. I love this so much. And it's like a bunch of different types of people. It's not just girls. Like I met a man the other day who absolutely loved Sailor Moon and thought my backpack was awesome. And that was just a random encounter that I had as an American. So I feel like there's interest in stuff like this, especially in America and in Japan. So I think at the very least you could make something for them.
Right, and I mean, see how it goes.
Yeah.
If you make a modern video game in the 2020s, and I guess it does really poorly, well then there you go. People got a game, they got a hopefully modern good game. It didn't sell well, but at least people got something, and then they know, well, I guess people don't want this. But instead, we can't even get that. We can't get anything.
No, we can't.
Just, like, the most recent we got, I believe, was in the 2010s. We got some phone crap.
And again, it is 2024, in case you guys forgot the year. So...
Yeah, well, and I should say, too, I believe the matching tile game was considered fun. That was a phone game. But I guess the reason that I say phone crap is because mobile games, they are the lowest budget that you can go. Like, it costs almost nothing compared to like a console or PC game. So you can tell that Toei and the people around these things are putting in as little money as possible to maximize their profit.
Yes.
And that's what I don't like about it. With Sailor Moon, it's like, they just gave up and they're like, yeah, we can make a mobile game, I guess. Oh, well, we discontinued it. They straight up shut it down, by the way.
There's also a lot of characters you could do for a Sailor Moon Legends to just copy Dragon Ball Legends for that, too.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's like Dragon Ball's right there as a template, which is, it's funny to say, but it really is true. Again, the reason we talk about that is because it's one of the biggest anime and manga property in the world, and it has so many games.
Yeah, and it has a really rich universe that you can do a lot with. It has a ton of different characters, lots of different timelines you can play around with. You know, like, it has the potential for a lot of different stories to go on in that universe, and I just think it's such a missed opportunity.
To answer your question of the day really quick, my perfect game would probably be a Xenoverse type game like that, where you interact with the Sailor Quartet and Chibi Moon, you know, when they're adults, and you can go to all these different eras and interact with them and create your own character and stuff, kind of like an MMO, but one that can be played entirely offline by yourself or with other people. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing that I think would be really cool. And then you can do it the same way where it's like, hey, everything is canon to this game, but this game is just its own thing, so it doesn't mess with any official material.
To answer my own question, my perfect Sailor Moon game would be an open-world RPG similar to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Ooh.
And it would be about Chibiusa as an older teenager/adult with the Sailor Quartet and Sailor Saturn fighting against a new evil.
I feel like we just want that, though, because they kept teasing it, and we could never get stories with her.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because they just kept teasing it, and then it never materialized.
And then it never happened. And that's what I want. I want something that's like open world, kind of like Stellar Blade or Final Fantasy VII or something like that, that is an RPG that has those like really awesome JRPG elements to it. Mm-hmm. And it's got that story, or at least a really good story similar to that.
I'd love it. I mean, the sky's the limit on it. And even if you wanted to test the waters with like a TMNT style modern beat 'em up or modern platformer type thing,
or like Scott Pilgrim, that one, that has actual like story to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, there's plenty of ways to do it where you wouldn't necessarily have to drop $300 million to make a game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's such a missed opportunity. I would love to see more video games for Sailor Moon because I am a huge gamer and I'm a huge Sailor Moon lover, and I just think it would be really fun and enjoyable. So I hope you guys really liked this video. I hope you like and subscribe because I'm going to make more Sailor Moon videos and more other anime videos in the future. Mm-hmm. I also have a shop called CosmoBunny.shop, and you can use code DJAY123 for 10% off on my shop, as well as use the code DJAY123 for our Fortnite supporter creator code on Fortnite if you enjoy playing that game and you like to buy things on there because it helps support us a lot. On CosmoBunny.shop, I make coasters, keychains, and other resin type products out of recycled manga and recycled comic books that were damaged by stores and stuff. And so I think they're really cool. It's like recycled art, and then I also make handmade beaded jewelry. So I hope you guys go check that out because it means a lot to me. It's my biggest passion in life is art. So I hope you guys go check that out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Bye!